court case and anti-abortion strategy I could. I read anything and everything on abortion, whether it was an article in the New York Times, a letter to the editor in a student newspaper, or tweets from a crisis pregnancy center. I didn't want anti-abortion legislators and groups to get away with attacking us under the cover of national overwhelm. Most of all, I wanted to ensure that people understood what these attacks were really about and how they were all connected. I noticed, for example, how lawmakers were undermining democracy to keep abortion banned. Because Americans overwhelmingly want abortion to be legal, these Republican leaders couldn't risk voters having a choice. So in state after state, they worked to keep abortion off the ballot. I saw how lawmakers are eroding birth control access, running OBGYNs out of town, and enabling abusers. I uncovered anti-abortion organizations' plans to open a network of religious maternity homes across the country, and a secret campaign to force women to carry non-viable pregnancies to term. I found bills that would charge women with murder if they caused their miscarriages, and spoke to activists defending women of color being arrested for stillbirths and miscarriages. Again, once you understand that banning abortion is just a means to a bigger misogynist end, stories like this make a lot more sense. Not long after I launched Abortion Every Day as an official newsletter, I realized that the other common denominator for all these attacks was their sheer volume. At first, I had naively worried that once the post-Roe dust settled, I wouldn't have enough news to write about daily. That never happened. It became clear, and it still is, that the overwhelm is very much the point. The anti-abortion movement is hitting Americans with everything all at once, in the hopes that those of us who want our rights back will be too exhausted and crushed to fight back. If pro-choice groups are busy trying to repeal a ban and care for desperate patients on the ground, for example, they have that much less time to keep an eye on other, seemingly less urgent issues, like the overfunding of crisis pregnancy centers, or how their local newspapers are publishing biased abortion coverage. Note, while some feminists use the term anti-abortion center, I use crisis pregnancy center or anti-abortion crisis pregnancy center in this book, because they're terms Americans are most likely to be familiar with. The same is true for everyday Americans who care about this issue. It's hard for any single person to keep track of all the anti-abortion attacks and tactics happening in different states around the country. But it's vital that we do. Consider someone living in Arizona who decides to collect signatures for a pro-choice ballot measure. They may not know that when activists did the same in Ohio, Republican leaders worked with anti-abortion organizations to draft a biased ballot summary designed to trick voters. If they had that information, they could be on the lookout for a similar move from their own government. Similarly, if a Utah OBGYN knows that a bill introduced in her state contains the same sneaky language that makes it impossible for Idaho doctors to give their patients health and life-saving abortions, she'll be that much more prepared to lobby against it. And if a New York college student knows that California campuses provide cost-free abortion medication, it could inspire her to fight for the same in her school. But the rapidly moving stories and details that change from day to day aren't all that matter. It's also the broader understanding of what these issues mean, what anti-abortion forces want, and how to do something about it. There has never been a more important time to be aware and informed, whether you do abortion rights work every day or are just furious about the attacks on our rights. We can't win unless we know exactly what we're fighting against and fighting for. Most of all, though, those fighting to keep abortion banned are relying on Americans' fear of speaking up. Since Roe was overturned, I've spoken to countless people, young women especially, who care deeply about abortion rights, but don't know what to say or how to say it. They worry that they sound stupid, or that they're going to be talked over or diminished, told to calm down, laughed at. That's why I publish Abortion Every Day, and why I've written this book. Abortion will give you the information, language, and context you need to feel confident talking about the attacks on our bodies and freedom. It cuts through the misinformation you're likely hearing every day from the news, social media, or even your own friends and family, providing order to the chaos and facts to back up your beliefs. I want to make sure that you don't feel overwhelmed into inaction or too unsure to speak up. My hope is that the lessons I've learned by obsessively tracking abortion rights since Roe was overturned will give you everything you need to fight back, whether you're too nervous to talk about abortion or have been an activist.